Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2. DJ TMac checking back in with you. What's going on? Thank you so much for checking out this video and my channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. It means a lot. We really appreciate it over on this side. Today, my latest conversation is with Jamar Johnson. He's an upcoming hip-hop producer from Lynn, Massachusetts. Got another East Coast representative in the house, and I really enjoyed this conversation. Be sure to connect with him below, listen to his music below, connect with myself. Like I said, like, comment, share, subscribe. We appreciate it. Enjoy. What's good, everybody? DJ T-Mac back here for another great hip-hop conversation. Today, we have a producer in the house. He goes by the name of Jamar Johnson. He's got a very soulful, pretty dope sample style. I've been digging into it recently a lot more, and it's all good music, good MCs, good instrumentals. It's hip hop. So that's why he's here, and that's why we're going to talk to him today. So thank you for taking the time, Jamar. How are you?
I'm good. You, bro?
Very good, man. Like I said, I'm excited to talk to you. It's I first initially heard your work through Akil Ali and that song Really Righteous. That was one of the singles off of Hidden Gems, I believe. Really dope track, really dope project, which we're going to talk about. But before we get into it, I just want to ask you hit you with a simple question. Who is Jamar Johnson?
Jamar Johnson is a creative. He's an artist. He's someone who inspires, someone who wants to inspire. All the above, bro.
Inspiring. Yeah, man. That's, I relate to that. You're a producer. Do you play football also?
I do.
That's awesome, man. So where I would like to talk about both things,
music
and in football, and see if there is any connection and crossover there. So where do you play? How long have you been playing? What position? Let's get into it.
Yeah, right now I just finished my last season at Westfield State. I've played football my whole life. My dad was a coach, so I grew up playing the game, grew up loving it. So I just finished my last season this past fall.
Okay, so you're from Massachusetts. Is that in Massachusetts?
Yep, Westfield State is in Massachusetts. I'm from Lynn, Mass.
Lynn, Mass. Awesome.
Yep.
I do have the New York hat on, but I recently moved to Colorado, but the last 5 years I was actually living on Cape Cod. Had a family business out there. So, went to Boston a little bit and, mostly working and stuff like that. Not too much hip hop stuff going on out there on Cape, but, I was living the Massachusetts lifestyle for a little bit.
That's dope.
So what position do you play in football?
I play quarterback.
So, that's a pretty important position. Is there any crossover or connection or similarities between being a quarterback and being a producer?
The biggest one I feel like is just the competitive drive, like the will to be the best at all times. Like that's how I'm so competitive with my music, with my beats. I'm always trying to be the best. I'm always working. So I feel like the crossover is really hard work competition.
Hard work and competition. Nice. And also, putting together the type of albums you do, I would say almost you're quarterbacking, the creation of the album. You're bringing in the different MCs and placing them where you want to place them. And, you're making the decisions. So exactly. That's a pretty cool, just an interesting similarity right there with that competitive drive. I like that because there's a lot of competition out nowadays, right? A lot of people are out making music. It's very easy with the internet to, get your music out there and to connect with different people. So there is a lot of competition out there. So that's an interesting aspect that you brought up.
For sure.
But there's always been a little bit of a connection between music and sports. I feel like one of my favorite MCs, Phife Dawg of A Tribe Called Quest, he always had the sports references. Lil Wayne also. Do you have a favorite MC that talks about sports, or maybe a favorite song or moment that references football?
Off top, I have to go with the song Eastern Conference All-Stars. It's produced by Pete Rock, I believe, and it has Sky Zoo, Westside, Benny. They took on the persona of these all-star players and just went about it like that. So off the top, that's my favorite sports crossover within hip hop right now.
Nice. Let's get into your music making. So you said you played football forever. When did you start making music, and how did that sort of come about?
Yeah, I started making music in 2020. That's the start of the pandemic. I jumped into it, and I've been going ever since. how it came about was, we were in the pandemic and football was canceled, school was canceled. So I didn't have really much to really to gravitate to. So I've always loved music. I always loved hip hop. And I figured I need some kind of craft, some kind of something to keep me busy, I guess, on the pandemic. And I thought to myself, why not learn how to make beats? I can't rap. So I figured if I love music so much, why not learn how to make beats? So I was working for a little bit. I caught myself a beat machine, and the rest is what it is today. So yeah,
That's awesome, man. So the pandemic was really the spark.
100%.
You mentioned Pete Rock. Who were some of the other, like, if I would assume he's an influence on your production. Who else are some producers who you would say influence your style?
Yeah, right now you got Pete Rock, you got Alchemist, you got Nicholas Craven out there doing this thing, RZA for sure, and definitely Kanye West. Definitely Kanye West.
You did you enjoy the documentary? Did you get to see that?
Yeah, I loved it. It's crazy though, because I only watched the first two parts. I didn't care for the third part. That was after graduation. After his peak. The third part was more like social media stuff, more problems. I didn't really care for it, so I just focused on the first two parts to really pull inspiration from.
Interesting. That's very cool, man. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and it's cool that a lot more hip hop stories are coming out via series.
Yeah, there's so much.
There's so much history, and it's not lost. It just needs to be dug back up,
put to the forefront. Yeah,
presented to the people, and it's great that people are doing that, and hip hoppers are really taking control of it. It's not outside people.
Yeah, even with the Wu-Tang series on Hulu, that's a great series too, just to look back on hip hop history in general. So I pull inspiration from all that, bro.
So I mentioned you sort of have a very soulful sound. A lot of the stuff I listen to, I would say it's more like positive and uplifting sounding than dark, which is sort of a big theme in underground music, especially today.
Yep.
You mentioned, some of your inspirations. What made you what sort of draws you to that sample or those styles that you make that sort of music?
Yeah.
Put into words?
Yeah. So my style of music, it came about because when I first started making beats, I had a hard time with drum patterns. I couldn't place my drum patterns correctly. So my whole no drum minimalistic style didn't really come from anybody, really came from me not knowing how to place drums. So I told myself, I'm going to make the best beats I can without them. You know what I'm saying? And then I got that whole style going, and I look up one day and everyone's on the same wave. I'm not saying I started, obviously, but it was a big trend that took part during that time span. So personally, that's where my start of the no drums thing came from not knowing how to place drums correctly.
So. I love it, man. Producer talk. I love it.
Yeah.
Is there a certain song or project you would say that I know, the pandemic is sort of what made you want to make music, but is there like a certain album maybe that you go back to and listen to a lot, or that catches you?
Yeah, 100%. Ransom is Director's Cut 3. Yeah.
One more time, can you say that?
Director's Cut 3 by Ransom.
Director's Cut 3, okay.
Yeah. So when I heard that album came out around the time I was starting to get into the swing of things, and it was cool to see someone do a whole album with my kind of style. Like, it wasn't just the intro song or outro song, but it was the whole album with that kind of production style. So that opened my eyes to wow, my sound has a place somewhere in the hip hop world. So I love that album. It's classic to me for sure.
Do you know who produced it?
Yeah, that was Nicholas Craven.
Oh, that was Nicholas Craven. Okay.
Yeah, Nicholas Craven he's a monster.
I'm gonna have to check back in with that, man. There's so much music, and every time I interview people, they always drop an album that I never checked out. So everybody, we're gonna have to check it out and tap in.
Yeah, sure. A quick little story on that, real quick. On Director's Cut 3. So when I first got into making beats and I caught the vinyl player, I went on eBay, copped a load of records for whatever the price was, and opened the packaging, and the first record I dropped down is a sample from one of the songs. So that already, had my mind blown. So I thought that was pretty cool. But
just like a universal connection.
Exactly. It was the craziest thing. But yeah.
So with that being said, let's talk about sourcing music a little bit. I mean, that's awesome. You said, you copped the record player. Was that like off instant? Did you see how it was done in the 90s and want to do it that way? Was it just like, hey, I got some bread now, let's get this other component too? Like, talk about the story of you like kind of getting equipment and building your style with it.
Yeah, so me getting into vinyl production and sampling off of vinyl, that came from me watching videos of Alchemist and all these dudes doing it back then, and just wanting to tap back into the essence of the culture and doing it not really the right way, but see how they did it and just learn from there. You just do it, I guess, to really get in touch with the culture of hip hop, I guess you say. Because hip hop is cool. I mean, YouTube is cool. I use YouTube all the time, but to be able to do it with the vinyl as well, if something goes down with the internet, whatever it is, I still got my vinyl samples, so it's know how to do both. So.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely, man. I mean, that's like a very similar story with me. I dabble with production. You see, I got the 2 turntables now, more into the DJing. But I the same thing with me. I just copped, a cheap like briefcase one. Got some record bundles. Like I remember the first few albums that I got, they weren't really to sample. It was more just to experience, have the vinyl experience. Right. My parents never had it like that. So I got like the Fugees, I got a Tribe Called Quest, their first 3 albums, like a 3-pack bundle, and I think Black Star. So that like kicked off my my vinyl craving, if you will.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And it just built from there. So that's awesome, man. I love I love keeping the essence. I think you mentioned that word.
Yeah, exactly.
Is really what it is. So man, we got to keep it going and we got to educate people. But I love that you're doing it that way. So sourcing music, like it's you're using the vinyl, but nowadays you don't even essentially have to go to the record store to cop vinyl.
Yeah.
Do you have record stores around you? Do you like to dig that way? Do you like to go online and look for specific records? Kind of talk about that process.
So my digging process, I like to be in store. I like to use my hands, get dirty in the crates. So whenever I travel or wherever I may go, the first thing I like to do is look for record spots in that area. So if I go to a new area, the first thing on my mind is, where's the dopest record store? Where's the dopest record spot? And I go in there and I scramble through all the records I can. And, the dollar crates always has heat. People love to sleep on the dollar crates. But just scooping through, see the artwork, see who's producing on it, see what kind of instruments are being played on it. All those stuff play a factor when I'm digging for vinyl. So.
Before you started producing, were you listening to a lot of that older soul music already? Or was that sort of a newer thing that you picked up?
No, I was definitely already in that lane of hip hop. Not so much on the underground, but more with the Kanye West, with the Primos, with the Wu-Tangs, with that side of things. Mm-hmm. So I was already, that was already ingrained in me. So once I got into production and the underground scene, it opened my eyes up to, what was going on down here, and it just made me want to work harder. So.
Mm-hmm. Are you nervous about sampling at all nowadays? I mean, it happens so much. But everything gets uploaded through technology. So are you nervous about that at all?
I'm not. I've had people tell me, I should be more careful with the samples I pick, and because I have a loop-based style, you know what I'm saying? So people always, warn me, hey, if you're gonna do this, be careful with who you use, what artists you use, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I dig deep enough to the point where you wouldn't recognize it anyways. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if you dig deep enough, you have nothing to worry about, So.
Interesting. I like it. I like the perspective. Yeah. So you have a lot of instrumental projects. That's like the first thing that I saw. Is that the name of it slips my mind right now. I should pull up the catalog. But the first instrumental project, was that the first piece of art that you put out into the world?
It wasn't. So the first piece of art I put out, I produced, was the album titled 5YL. It's by Primo the Great, 7 tracks, and it's the first album I ever produced. Came out in October, I believe, of 2020. And after that album came out, I kind of had things going a little bit. Then I figured to build my own audience, I'd put out a beat tape to kind of attract my audience to that project as well. So I try to work like that. So
yeah, that's smart. Leisure activity, that's like the instrumental series that you have, though, right?
Yeah.
How do you pick the which beats are going to go on there and which ones you're going to show to artists? What's the process behind picking the beats for different projects?
Leisure activity beats, I mean, it's like the title, leisure activity. Those are beats I've made, you know, just when I was chilling, just when I was kicking it, doing whatever. Those aren't beats that I made to show to artists, or I made, you know, an album mode. So, you know, a lot of times when I'm making a beat, I'm working on a project for an artist, you know what I'm saying? So the leisure activity beats are just beats I made outside of that process. So I'm just kicking back one day, you know, I got some free time, bang on a few beats maybe. And then over the course of 4 or 5 months, I might go back, look at those and pick which ones I think would fit the track list best. So
interesting. Nice, man. How many beats do you have, like just a stash right now? You have like 200 beats just like ready. Are you able to put a number on it even?
No, I can't even. I can't do it because it's crazy because a few months ago, my laptop had it crashed. It went through something crazy. It crashed, and all my beats were on there that I was selling. I was giving the artists to work with, all the good stuff. So I lost like 1,000 beats on just that laptop alone. But luckily, I had a backup, you know, laptop ready to go if that ever happened. So I was able to transfer some of the files over, not everything. But I got my library back to, you know, where it should be. But a lot of those files are definitely lost. I lost some heat with that laptop for sure, but it was tough.
Dang, that's crazy. It's interesting you mentioned Riz and Wu-Tang because, you know, we saw in the series and we know that happened in real life.
The crazy thing is the day my laptop crashed and I lost my files, that was the first thing that came to mind. Like, yo, this is similar to what happened with bro and, you know, when he lost all his files. So
always the setbacks,
it was definitely a connection.
Setbacks for a better comeback. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Interesting connections there, man. Just the universe making connections everywhere.
Yeah.
So when did you start initially connecting with artists? I mean, you know, you said you started making beats in 2020, probably early 2020, and then you said the first project came out in October. So how did you initially connect with that first artist? And then, you know, I heard you through Akil talk about sort of spreading out through the underground hip hop scene.
No, that's a great question. So it started off with Primo the Great. Primo the Great, he's an MC from Virginia, actually. And we went to school together at one point in time. So we was somewhat cool with each other, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't making beats at that time. We was just homies. So I started making beats and I was sending beats to him just to listen. I wasn't even thinking he might want to rap on them. I was just like, you know, that's my boy. I'm like, yo, check this out and see what you think. Eventually it got to a point in time where we had enough beats where he felt like, yo, like these are good enough to do a project with. So we went through with the project. And then after that happened, I put out Leisure Activity. Then after Leisure Activity, I put out my Diamonds EP. My Diamonds EP was where I started really trying to connect with other artists. I hit up Mickey Fax. I hit up Skunks out of Boston. I got with Rush out of Delaware. And basically, it was just Instagram messages, really is all it was. Like, yo, I'm doing a compilation. You know, I heard your work, worked on a few tracks, you know, send some beats through and we go from there. So it's just Instagram, Twitter, social media, really reaching out. So
that's awesome that so many artists nowadays are open like that, you know, even with me trying to get interviews and stuff like that. People seem more open than even like a few years ago when I was trying to do it. Maybe the pandemic opened people up more to the online conversations or connections or things like that. But I do find it very interesting how collaborative the underground scene is. Everybody's trying to
because I mean,
build with each other.
I was putting out the Diamonds EP, like I mentioned before, my first compilation project. And I hit up Mickey Fax just to do it. I didn't really expect anything back from him. I just wanted to see what would happen if I did. Surprisingly, you know, he texted me back and he goes, yeah, bro, like, you know, let's do it, send some beats through. And mind you, I didn't have any beats ready for Mickey at all. I was just sending messages to see what would happen. So when he sent the message back, I'm scrambling through vinyls, trying to find samples. And luckily I got the beats done in that day, sent them off to him and we got it done. But, you know, that was all by luck, I guess you could say. I didn't mean for him to really hit me back, but, you know, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, man. So, wow, that's awesome that you were able to pull through, you know, in that way. Almost reminds me of like procrastinating. Not that you knew about it for a while, but you were just like, let's just see what happens. And then you're like, oh shit.
Like in the moment, I just hit him like, yo, what's good, bro? I'm doing a project, I want you on it. He's like, send some beats through. And I almost panicked. But, I got the beats done luckily and we got it done. So
that's dope, man. That's dope. So you're coming from out of Massachusetts, the New England area. But as I was doing my research, Massachusetts and Boston have sort of a long hip hop history.
Yeah, word.
One of the first radio shows in the nation I saw on here is called The Ghetto. It was a fully dedicated to rap that came out in 1979. Actually, when I was on Cape Cod, it was on a volunteer radio station, WOMR.
Yeah.
So I had a hip hop show on there. I would say it's the first like real, truly dedicated hip hop show. People play all different stuff on there, opera, whatever. But I had like a dedicated hip hop show digging into samples and, dedication mixes to Primo and all things like that. Fire. So it's awesome to see that there, even back then in 79, that like
it was still a rocket. Yeah.
It was a thing even in Boston. It started in New York, but the major cities around it all started to get a taste of it too shortly after. I would say Philly, Boston,
Chicago, maybe.
Chicago, yep, exactly.
Yeah.
It just started to spread its roots. So Boston is deeply ingrained in it. Home of some legendary producers. Arthur Baker, I knew the name. Do you know who he is?
I'm not familiar. I'm not.
So he was an early producer for Tommy Boy. I think he had a band. It was called like the something to do with like Boston Funk or something like that. But Tommy Boy signed him early, and he actually produced Planet Rock and the song Jazzy Sensation and a whole bunch of other things like that. So he's from the Boston area. Obviously, Guru, Static Selecta, Terminology, Edo G and the Bulldogs, I know. Joyner Lucas and Millie's, to name a few newer artists, more well-known. There's a lot happening nowadays now also. So talk about some of the artists that you're working with from the New England area. Yeah,
so the New England area in general has a lot of, dope stuff coming out right now. Both SC-NAC and Aldovino, they're from my city, Lynn, Mass. So you got a collective out there, KMF. They're like a pro era, sort of collective type deal, but a different style of music, but that's how they carry themselves. You know what I'm saying? So they're super dope.
Nice.
Teathetruth is a producer out here. He's a part of KMF actually as well. You got Day Andrade. He's out of Rhode Island. He has a group called Blue Wave Poetics. So, I mean, New England's doing good right now, bro. We're rocking.
That's awesome, man. I'll definitely do some more research into that. We're going to talk about the Big Three in a second. The Big Three is that the most recent project that you dropped, right? Yeah, that's the most recent one. So that's with Teathetruth and Day Andrade, who you just mentioned. How did that project come about?
Yeah, so the Big Three project, it came from Hidden Gems originally. So the first or second track on Hidden Gems is titled 08 Celtics, and it features Day and T. And so we did that song, whatever it was. And then idea came about, a few months later. I think someone mentioned like, yo, like we should carry that song momentum into a whole project, brand ourselves as the Celtics, you know what I'm saying? So that was T's idea. We just ran with it. And, the whole concept is like, we're in a game. That's why the first song on the album, it's just the tip off before the game starts. Then you have a skit in there, like a halftime report. So we wanted to treat it like it was a real game, brand ourselves as the Big Three Celtics, and just have that emotional connection between Boston Celtics fans and hip hop fans as well. Try to bring them together,
For each of you, what would it mean to your legacy to get another title?
Anytime you get something, you're able to achieve something that great more than once. That's everything. To say you
even if I don't score, they love me like I'm Scalabrini. Moneyball, that's 500. Still, I bet they pay to see me. Going crazy on these beats. I always eat my Wheaties. Got me high, but that's the weed. Still, I just protect my peace. I'm on it till I rest in peace. I'm balling on a budget. I got 500 on me. That's like half a stack. Me, Day, Jamar, we take it back to back. I ain't signing contracts. I need half of that. Watch him lead a team. Me free agent like he Brandon Bass. I just play the cut. I'm standing back. I'm not the type to stay attached. Talking like they up 20. Really, they been down bad. fad. We do a lot to make them mad, but I don't plan on staying here. You know this the big three, we really never playing fair. You cross me, catch an ankle tear. Never try and take it there. I need a little blunt rap.
Very cool, man. I really enjoyed the project. I love the skits in there, and it does play out like a game, you know, like there's a whole flow through it, and it's cool, man. I love concept albums. I love listening to things start to finish. I never play an album on shuffle, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Even as a DJ, it's hard for me to put together playlists sometimes, just because I get so like attached to the actual album as a whole body of work, because that's what it is. And especially as a producer, you put the project together in a certain way. There's a certain flow to it, right? Talk about sort of building projects and building this one, sort of the process of putting it together.
Yeah, so the Big Three project, let's keep in mind that both Day and T both make beats as well. So they're both producers. So it was like a three-headed monster as far as constructing and sequencing and stuff in that manner. If you notice on the project, we have the more lighter, soulful tracks first, then the skit comes along, then it gets more darker, gets more, you know, grimier, if you want to say. And that was more of a transition between, like, you know, the first, second quarter versus the third and fourth quarter of the game. It gets tougher, it gets harder and
close.
Yeah, so that's how we built that. Exactly. We had a group chat, and we were just shooting ideas back and forth, shooting ideas, and you know, the three of us came together and made some magic. I produced the whole project myself, but I let them send me samples as well. Like if they heard something they want flipped, like, yo, flip this for us, see what we can do with it. So they both sent through a few samples, and we just did it like that, you know, a great group effort. So
that's cool, man. Were you together at all for the making of this, or was it mostly just through the internet, emails, chatting, just staying updated?
Yeah, so I wasn't around with them, but both Day and T were together when they were recording verses and mixing and mastering the project. So they got a chance to link up. So.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Who is who when it comes to the Big Three? Break it down for us.
I'm gonna tell you, like T said, we got that question on the podcast before, and T had the answer. We're universal. We could be anybody at any time, because that's how versatile we are with our styles. So maybe I'm KG one day, maybe T's, you know, whatever it is, we're all one. So
filling the different roles.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. I like it. Very cool project. You guys can definitely go check that out. That's on all streaming platforms, right? I saw you have some dope merch for that too. Is dope artwork that goes with it, right? Where can
we
people
got some merch, vinyls.
Where can people purchase that and connect with you? Shout out your social media and everything right now.
Yeah,
also.
so my Instagram is Jamar Johnson _8. My Twitter is Jamar J _8. And to cop any vinyls or merch from the Big Three album, just go to my Instagram, and there should be a link in my bio with all the information you need. So definitely tap in with that.
Connect with him. I got all the information below in the video. So connect, go listen to that project. And I also want you to listen to this next project. It's called Hidden Gems. We're going to talk about this one right now. So this was the initial work that I really heard from you. Like I mentioned, you know, you connected with, I heard you initially through Akil Ali and that song, Really Righteous. What was your connection with him? Because I asked that earlier. So what was your initial connection with Akil Ali? And talk about building that album.
Yeah, so I first connected to Akil Ali with my man's from Philly. He was like, yo, this is a dope MC, you know, out of New York, you might want to try to work with him. And I heard some of his work. I heard Dirty Spirits, his album, and I was amazed. And, you know, I was instantly a fan. So eventually at some point, you know, I hit him and we chopped it up a little bit, had a good conversation. And then a few months later, after we talked a little bit, I had the album coming, Hidden Gems. And I asked him if he'd be, you know, down to be on it, you know, a few verses for me. And he made it happen. It was quick, it was easy. He's a good dude. He's always trying to connect with people, always trying to network, always trying to make things easier. So he's a good dude. I definitely enjoy working with him for sure.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I just spoke with him a couple of weeks ago, and that was a really fun and good conversation.
Jamar, listen, who's your soul provider? See evil in her dress, she got swords from spiders. Another world, I seen her sprinkle something in that easy water. I never judge, some people really stuck, so many people trying. You see the sirens, my hood is so poor, they like to see the violence. Record labels saw our struggle, they found a way to monetize it. Never come into our hoods, too many shots, the picture's vivid. Shit is like a twilight zone, you could die before you get your pension. That's why I'm giving roses now, and treat you like the god you are. The skin is made of carbon, so you'll always be a shining star. Live your purpose, cause you never know when it's the final call. Lord time, that's why I seem to drown up in this alcohol. Calmest things, cause when I'm thinking left and God is not involved. If your heart is really righteous, you keep on being that person. Keep your mind stay out of hell, keep your soul away from the furnace. If your heart is really righteous, you keep on being that person. Keep your mind stay out of hell, keep your soul away from the furnace.
Talk about more about building Hidden Gems. You know, he's on a few of the tracks here. You have Ransom on a track and a whole bunch of other great MCs, a few of the New England artists that you mentioned. Talk about sort of building this album. Did you have the beats ready for this one? Did you make them as you went along for the different artists after you connected? Talk about the process of this album.
Yeah, so Hidden Gems was definitely more of a longer process of creating the album. So basically it was like I had this track list of artists I wanted to work with, you know, like a bucket list, so to speak, of artists I wanted to work with. And since this was my first full length compilation, I wanted to make it as special as I possibly can. So I had this bucket list full of artists, you know, Ransom's on there, Kill Oli's on there, Rush, all these guys, they're all on there. And what I was doing was I would look at the list of artists and try to make a beat that I think would match that artist, you know what I'm saying, while keeping it in the same soulful frame of my sound. So that's what that process was like. So I'd have the beats ready, and then I contact the artist, and then, you know, I would shoot beats through. If there was some issue with the artist not liking a beat, or I want a different vibe or something like that, I would send a different beat, but still try to keep it in that soulful pocket that I'm still going for. So it worked for everybody. And yeah, that's how that process went. It was a long time, but, you know, I'm glad what came from it. So
how long are we talking, would you say it took to build it?
I want to say about 5 or 6 months. I would say a long time for me personally, because when I knock out projects, they're fast. Like the Big 3 project was done in less than a week. Like,
interesting. Wow.
Like we work quick. So to sit for 5 and 6 months for Hidden Gems, you know, it was a process, but, you know, we got it done. So
very interesting. Because I was gonna say, you mentioned 5-6 months. I'm like, you know, some artists take a year, 18 months. Like I was just listening to Pusha T interview, you know, he's obviously, you know, making his style and doing his thing, but that's very interesting. And I was going to mention your work rate. You know, you just started making beats a couple of years ago, but you have a lot of projects out already, you know, just scrolling on Spotify. I could listen for a couple hours, like just chilling, listening to your music.
So I feel like that came from me being in the pandemic, obviously, and having nowhere to go, nothing to do. I had nothing to do but make beats. So it was from sun up to sundown. I was, you know, trying to get better at making beats. So I had so much work built up, it was just ready to release at some point. So, you know, that work drive, that ethic never really left, even after the pandemic, you know, came to you know, it slowed down a little bit. I was still working hard like I was in the pandemic. So
yeah, man, keeping that work rate up. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Another project you released recently, maybe this year, was called Dig for Gold Volume 1.
Yeah.
That was
with, Dig for Gold, Teathetruth.
Yeah. Talk about it, man. Get into it. So I was actually waiting for T to start rapping, but it never happened. So, you know, obviously you mentioned he's a producer too. So talk about the process of this. Were you guys digging together? Break it down.
Yeah, T's a super dope producer. We plan to do a lot of work together in the future. So what with that project was basically, it was a follow-up project to our last beat tape we dropped. And the Dig for Gold is basically, it's like 8 beats each from us or something like that. And then there are 4 vinyl samples and 4 YouTube samples.
Ooh.
So what we was doing, you know, we was trading vinyl records back and forth. You know, we was digging together, try to find the best sounds. And, you know, we treated it like that. So I have the first beat, he has the second beat, and so on and so forth. So, you know, 4 vinyl flips, 4, you know, YouTube flips. And we just went about it like that, trying to get a real dirty, grimy sound. Because our first beat tape we did was more on the soulful, uplifting side. We want to try to come back with something more gritty, just to show people we could do, you know, the best of both worlds. So.
Absolutely. Yo, that's a really cool concept. Maybe I just missed that it was broken down that way, or you guys didn't promote it, but that would be like a cool thing to like talk about more. That's very interesting.
So it's funny because our first beat tape that we dropped, that was supposed to be set up like a beat battle. Like we were going to have skits involved, that made it seem like we were battling each other.
Very cool.
But that content didn't really follow through like we thought it should or it would. So we just went about it like a regular beat tape, 10 beats each for both of us, and we just rocked out. And then the Dig for Gold joint is alternated. So I have the first song, he has the second beat, I have the third beat, and so on and so forth. And I feel like joints like that is really just for like, we make those for the artists to really tap into us to see what our sound is like. You know what I'm saying? So if I hit up an artist like, yo, check out my sound, I can send them a Dig for Gold. I can send them a Leisure Activity just so they can really get the feel for my sound. So
yeah, very cool, man. I like that. So speaking of like beat battles, is that something you've been doing or like a showcase? I saw some video clips of you playing beats and like rocking out. Talk about that. What's going on with that?
Beat battles, there's something I'm very interested in. I'm always trying to get involved in some competition when it comes to music. But that video you see,
you got that drive. Interesting.
Yeah, that video you seen, that was from an event we had here at my school, actually. I held an event here. It was a showcase for New England artists. And we had a bunch of artists come out, from Lynn, Boston, Rhode Island, and showcase the talent of one of the college. And that clip was from a scene or a clip at the show. Producer from Rhode Island named Counterfeit and myself, we were playing beats back and forth. And we were just trying to get the crowd rocking a little bit, introduce other artists to our sound who weren't familiar with us and just, go about it like that. And
making
that clip is probably one of my favorite beats I've made by far, because that, everyone knows the Alicia Keys joint that Kanye did with that sample, but no one did it how I did it, I feel like, with the two transitions. So that was a fun night. It was a good showcase. It was dope. Yeah,
that's an interesting track. It's got the two very different sounds. It's a very long song. Actually, you spoke of Kanye earlier. I recently one of my last radio shows, I did an all Kanye dedication. Dug into his catalog, his samples and stuff like that. And Kanye produced that Alicia Keys joint. So that was something I didn't initially know.
That's one of my favorite beats.
Cool to go back
ever. I love that beat, bro. That beat is crazy.
Yeah, it's a great song. It's a good one. So is that something you said you're looking to do it more? Are there any promotions or people doing that right now? Or is that something you're really looking to start up?
That's something I'm trying to start up. I'm really trying to look into it and see how I could go about it and see if there's other, places I could get into that or find out, how to just do more, how to showcase my sound. Most in front of most people I can at one time. So I'm definitely into that whole side of things for sure.
It would be cool to stream it too. I'm not sure what the logistics would be of that. It's probably very difficult, but to for the audience that can't be there, that would be cool.
Yeah, exactly. Actually on Twitter Spaces, we do this on Saturday nights at 9:00. We have this something called Cypher Spaces, and in a Cypher Space, what it is basically, it's a bunch of artists, producers, and it's like open mic type of deal. But on Twitter, it's an open chat room. And if you're an artist, you can spit a 16. If you're a producer, you can play a beat and just get feedback from other artists, in the chat room and stuff like that. So we do that on Twitter every Saturday at 9:00. So
dope, man. Tap in, people. Tap in. There's a lot of easy ways to make connections out here as he's laying out for us. So gems as you will,
Word.
So we talked about beat battles and showcases a little bit. You talked about having a board where you wrote down, your sort of dream artists. Do you have a new list now for the next album? Do you just
I do.
Like a dream list of big artists? Put it out into the universe, man. Who do you want to work with?
So right now, me and T, we have the idea to do a compilation, but together. So I would produce maybe 5 or 6 tracks. He would produce 5 or 6 tracks. And since we're both well connected with so many different artists, we feel like we can connect each other with each other's artists and build one big networking type thing.
Sure.
So right now, it's a bunch. I don't want to say too much because stuff is in progress right now, so I don't want to say too much about it. But definitely some dope things in the works for sure. Definitely.
Damn, man, you're just gonna leave us like that? Give me one.
Can't say too much.
No, not about maybe who you're working with right now. Leave them out of it. But who are some other ones maybe that you want to get to work with?
My dream right now, my biggest dream collaboration right now is Westside Gunn by far. I feel like I say it on Twitter, I say it all the time, I have beats he would float on. Like it would be the most perfect connection. Yeah, West Side Gun is definitely what I'm looking forward to at some point in life.
Dope, man. Yeah, that would be a great collaboration, and I can't wait to hear it. I'm gonna say it that way.
Yep.
I can't wait to hear it.
Exactly.
How can people, well, we talked about the social media. I guess if people want to work with you, they can just shoot you a DM, contact you that way.
Yeah. Instagram DMs, Twitter DMs. Either way you can find me. I'm there all the time. Just hit me and we could definitely network.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have some favorite producer albums, whether they're instrumental albums or compilations? Some of my favorite are like Pete Rock's, also a large Professor one. I think it's just called Beats Volume 1, something like that. Do you have some favorite producer albums?
I would say Alchemist is a series, Rapper's Best Friend. That whole series is nuts. He's been doing it since the early 2000s, I believe. And every year you could just hear the progression and his sound and how he continues to evolve his sound. So Rapper's Best Friend by Alchemist is definitely one of my favorites.
Dope. We're going to have to get into that one also.
Right.
Goals for 2022 and beyond. You have a certain number of projects that you want to release this year. We talked about some collaborations a little bit, but what are like some of your goals this year and just in the game, hip hop game generally?
I mean, honestly, when it comes to goals with the music, I don't really have concrete, expectations or anything. I just want to inspire as many people as I possibly can and put out, dope art into the universe in general. I don't really care to, have these many sales, this many streams, these many awards and accolades. I just want to do as much for the hip hop community as I possibly can. So, yeah, bro.
Who are some people that inspired you outside of hip hop that gives you that, drive to want to inspire other people?
That's a great question. Wow. Who gave me the drive to want to inspire outside of hip hop? I would say football coaches growing up. I had a lot of great coaches growing up, and they definitely instilled, the will to want to be great, even past what you do. So even if you're just a football player, you want to be great past that. You want to be known as a great person first, not just as a great athlete. So I would definitely say football coaches in my life definitely got me to where I am now as far as my mindset.
Gems, man. That's awesome. I like that. I like that answer. Right. So now to a very important part of the interview. My radio show was called Flavor in Your Ear Radio. I'm a pizza guy. I make pizza. I love food. What are some of the best pizza or food spots around you where you live or in Boston? Really looking for like a pizza spot.
Nah, no doubt. If you're ever in Lynn, Mass, definitely check out Caruso's Pizza. Classic spot in the city. That's definitely a go-to for me. So Caruso's Pizza in Lynn, Mass is definitely one of my favorites.
Awesome, man. I want to compile like a little book or list or something, flavor guide or something. I always ask people in these interviews. So anytime, I'm around, we got to go check out these places because they're the DL spots that people won't really know about.
Right.
So, dope, man. And any spot, particularly in Boston, you have like a favorite go-to place in Boston, restaurant or otherwise? Something you like to do in Boston? It's a pretty cool city, very different from New York. I went to New York, grew up there a lot, but Boston is a very different type of city. What do you like to do in Boston?
The thing is with that question, being out here so much, like seeing it every day, the things that might amaze an out of towner, I see it, daily. So it don't really interest me too much.
Sure.
So I don't think I have like a, just a huge thing I like to do in Boston typically. There's a bunch of record stores, out there, obviously.
There you go. Okay.
So, you could do that out there. But yeah, it's like, I've seen it all, my whole life. So I'm used to the whole, Boston hype.
Word. Well, Jamar, hey, it was awesome to connect with you. It was awesome to have this conversation. I got to ask a lot of questions I didn't even have prepared. It was fun. I look forward to hearing more of your new work. Seeing a beat battle live, seeing it online. We're going to be on the lookout for all that. So tell the people once again where they could follow you, where they could find you, and what to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, so my Instagram, Jamar Johnson _8, Twitter, Jamar J _8. And right now I'm working on a series of different projects with various artists. definitely be on the lookout. If you listen to Hidden Gems and you heard the song Peace by Bless Picasso, me and him have a full album coming soon. I'm working with Peppy Next out of New Jersey. We have a full album coming soon. Me and Primo the Great, we're cooking up right now. So definitely some projects on the way for sure.
He stays busy. He's competitive. Jamar Johnson, thank you again,
yes,
bro.
Sir. No doubt.
Yeah, hey yo, different type of jewels than what they hold the floors. You could tell from the page that he wrote across. Son is from an older cloth. You taking shots, better know the cause. Looking at all them diss tracks, result to having your focus off. Sending a message through hate. See, I kept a few rest of crew too busy to check if dude ate. Talking how y'all weapons shoot straight, shit you never do. No euro, you see that they stepping too fake.